I just want to remind you guys that today this is a gentle, safe space, so there's no right or wrong with these questions. It's really important to just be honest with ourselves about where we're at. That's how we actually move through what we're feeling and experiencing. So there's no comparison, there's no competition. It's just about being here for yourself. I see a 7, I see a 1. Okay. A 6, an 8. So we have a little bit of everything here. And again, just normalizing where you're at and gonna give some insight for you guys to hopefully move through some of this. Welcome, everyone. So my name is Melissa, and some of you might know me on Instagram as my plant-based friend. So today we're exploring what it really means to move from self-abandonment into self-worth and embodied self-worth, because we can know intellectually that we're worthy, but it's a whole different experience to actually feel and live that and show up for ourselves in that way. So that's the goal here today. We're all capable of embodying self-worth, even if we don't yet fully believe that or have a lot of evidence of those experiences. We're planting the seeds here today. So after this masterclass and hypnosis, you will understand why self-worth isn't something you can talk or think your way into. It's something your nervous system learns through safety and consistency and self-trust, which is why I believe so strongly in holding this space, this hypnosis or meditation experience for us to drop into and actually create that feeling in our bodies of safety and worthiness. So I am a certified holistic life coach, and I specialize in subconscious and somatic healing. So working with all parts of ourselves. I usually work with sensitive, high achieving people who have a lot of goals and ambitions, who are probably on a health and fitness journey, which is why all of you are here at this health and fitness summit, but struggle maybe with feeling safe or consistent or trusting ourselves to show up for our goals without abandoning ourselves and our needs. So at the end, we do have some really beautiful gifts from the vegan squad team. So stay with me here. It includes a chance to win a free month of coaching, which is really, really supportive on your journey. So I always like to start these calls with a short grounding practice. I know we'll be getting into a deeper hypnosis, but I do believe it's important to really let yourself land here. So no matter what you were doing before this or what you have going on after this, we are here right now together, even if it is virtually. So let's celebrate that. Let's be here together. We're going to start by just orienting to our space. So you can just notice where you are, letting your eyes wander around your room. Maybe this is a room you spend a lot of time in, or maybe this is a room that's not as familiar to you. Either way, just letting your eyes wander and land on whatever they want to land on. And let's take a nice deep breath in and exhale, let go. And as you're looking around, I just want you to, in your mind, name 3 things you can see. And once you've found and labeled these 3 items, I then want you to label the colors of these items. And just noticing the textures or materials. taking your time with this. You're doing great. And now you can shift your attention back to yourself. I just want you to notice the support beneath you. So feeling maybe the chair on your sit bones, the floor beneath your feet, wherever it is you are, just feeling supported by the back of your bed or chair. And just notice how you're feeling. Take another nice breath if that feels good. Again, there's no right or wrong here. There's no rush. You're welcome to be here exactly as you are today. So, talking about self-abandonment, we want to start by naming the patterns because we can have a general idea of the ways we'd like to continue showing up for ourselves, or the habits we'd like to start implementing, the goals we want to work toward. But it's really important to start by noticing and naming. I'll drop the question in the chat. When do you most abandon yourself? And take a minute to respond to this question in the chat, remembering that this is a safe space and there's no comparison. We all abandon ourselves at times, me included, your coaches included. This could be overgiving. This could be saying yes when deep down it feels like a no. Maybe it's ignoring your body's signals, agreeing to plans when you don't have the capacity. Maybe it's staying quiet to keep the peace, not speaking up for what you believe in. Just notice and name, when do you most abandon yourself? And this is also a really good way to normalize and connect with each other, because sometimes it's easy to look at what everyone else is doing and feel like I'm the only one who struggles with this, which then makes it even harder to break out of the patterns. So Shannon shared that skipping the gym when I have a work deadline. Yes, I'm sure that's very common, Shannon. Chanel shared that when my kid needs something, my needs get pushed aside for her. I'm sure a lot of parents can relate to this one. Thank you for sharing. Yes, Jess says same here. Wolf says, I most abandon myself when I override what I feel because it's uncomfortable or might disappoint someone. Yeah, that keeping the peace. Our relationships are important to us, so that makes sense. Maya shared, when I put too much on my plate to make others happy, I forget about making sure I am happy too. Yeah, our own happiness and feeling good matters and ultimately makes the people around us happier too, because when our cup is overflowing, it's easier to pour into others. Allie said, when my schedule is very busy, I forget to slow down and check in with myself. Yes, I very much relate. I'm sure a lot of you guys can. That's what we're doing here today. We're slowing down, checking in with ourselves. Bridget said, when I get overwhelmed, I just shut down. This is also a very common response. When we're in that sympathetic state, that fight or flight energy, sometimes rather than regulating, our nervous system will go the other route and just shut down. And just know that nothing is wrong with you when that happens. It's simply your nervous system protecting you. Vic said she makes excuses when not focused on herself, probably due to lack of self-worth, easily overwhelmed, so just give up. Yeah, excuses are something that I'm sure all of us can relate to from time to time, especially when we're feeling overwhelmed. Ashley says, by neglecting my responsibilities. Sally, by recognizing how I'm feeling about something before actually moving forward, just stuck in routine rather than how I feel. Yeah, so as you guys can see, a lot of us go through similar feelings and experiences. So thank you for sharing and naming those patterns together. I want to talk about what these instances of self-abandonment actually mean from a nervous system perspective. So, as I said before, self-abandonment is not a character flaw. It doesn't mean that something's wrong with you. It's simply a learned survival strategy. So, our nervous system's one job is to keep us safe. And to our nervous system, safety means comfort or familiarity. So, if we are trying to change or work toward a goal, a lot of times our nervous system interprets that as threat. So we create evidence that it is safe to move toward goals by taking this time to slow down and actually listen to our needs and create evidence that we don't need to self-abandon to get our needs met, to meet our goals. So at some point, our nervous system learned that it was maybe safer to connect with others than to connect with ourselves, right? Some people talked about putting their kids before themselves or wanting to keep the peace in relationships. And again, that's very normal, very common. This is usually formed through maybe attachment wounds or inconsistent caregiving or emotional invalidation. Maybe we were going through an emotional time and someone told us, stop crying, or why are you still upset about that? And so we shoved it down, tried to move on rather than actually meeting our emotional and physical needs. Or maybe on the other hand, we've always been praised for being so strong and so resilient and so easy to get along with. So we actually abandon our needs to keep up with that image or that role of the person who is strong and never cries or never puts themselves first. So on either end of the spectrum, through these experiences, our nervous system learned that it's more important to belong and receive approval and feel safe, safety being not disrupting the peace, than it is to be our authentic selves and have our boundaries and get our needs met. We learn that safety comes from people pleasing. So today, we're learning that safety can come from taking care of ourselves, right? As I mentioned, the people around us tend to feel better and happier when we're pouring from an overflowing cup, not an empty cup. So, how many of us here have ever minimized our own needs? Drop a yes in the chat. Or anticipated others' emotions. We don't share how we're feeling or express a boundary because we're scared of how someone's going to respond. Drop a yes in the chat if this has ever been you. If you've ever prioritized harmony or keeping the peace rather than speaking what's on your heart, drop a yes. If you've ever felt disconnected from your body's internal signals, your needs, struggling to differentiate between your intuition or fear and anxiety, I see lots of yeses, too many times, hell yes. Yeah, see, a lot of us go through these things. It's nothing wrong with you. It's nothing you're doing wrong. It's our human nervous systems responding in a very human way to want to keep the peace. Shutting down on myself, Ashley said yes. Again, a very common response here. So we're going to talk about why this self-abandonment feels so automatic. It is happening because self-abandonment is a reflex, not a decision. So our nervous system has a cool feature, which is called neuroception. It's almost like an internal security system, or I like to think of it as a lighthouse, constantly scanning for threat or danger. And this might not mean life or death threat or danger. again, it could simply mean keeping the peace or not wanting to upset someone. So when our nervous system is in this state, subconsciously scanning for threat all the time, we are repeating thoughts like, am I safe to be my full self with this person? Will I be rejected if I take up space or speak my needs? What do I need to say or do to belong here? And then instead of actually getting our needs met, we're living in our head, overthinking because we don't want to disrupt this peace, right? So when that safety feels uncertain, when we're overthinking, asking ourselves these questions, our body defaults to the overgiving, the overfunctioning, the overexplaining, or the shutting down altogether. We're acting from a primal automatic response rather than a safe, empowered, embodied response. And again, nothing's wrong with us if we haven't yet learned how to pause and create evidence that it's safe to slow down, get our needs met, and embody self-worth. Like anything else, it's something we can choose to learn and practice. Just like putting in the reps at the gym, you are all here to put in the reps to embody self-worth. So give yourself credit for that, credit for being here. It's a huge component of our health and fitness journey. So let's reframe self-worth, because I think that phrase alone can sometimes be triggering or activating to people. Self-worth is not necessarily self-confidence. So even if we're not feeling good about ourselves, or we're not yet where we want to be, or we're working toward goals and we're just at the beginning stages, maybe we're not fully confident yet, but we still have an inherent internal sense of self-worth that is always there. It's steady. It's never changing. So self-worth isn't something you have to earn. It's just something you have to tap back into. So let that really land for you. We're tapping back into our own inherent self-worth today. There's nothing else you have to do or achieve or prove to earn self-worth, okay? Really, really let that sink in. And something, yeah, really important that I want to drive home is that worthiness is not built by pushing harder. I know a lot of us goal-oriented high achievers on health and fitness journeys feel like we need to constantly keep doing to be worthy, to keep up, to stay ahead. A lot of us have a competitive aspect to us. Some of us do actually compete in bodybuilding, but sometimes we forget to listen to our needs instead of dismissing them. And then our nervous system is learning that it's not safe to be with myself or listen to myself. So another question that I want you to think about, and I'll drop this in the chat. If self-worth felt embodied in your body, how would it feel? This could be safe or grounded, calm, spacious, free. Name an emotion that feeling self-worth would feel like in your body. Because research shows that it's super important to attach feelings to our desired goals or behaviors. It helps us sustain that change. I see empowering, confidence, confident, really good ones, feeling disciplined and free, sure of myself. I love these. Yeah, in control, calm. Very good. So our self-worth, tapping back into it, grows when we practice, again, putting in the reps like anything else, feeling that enoughness in small daily ways. So a question we can ask ourselves every day, A little pause to check in. I have reminders on my phone daily for this. What would it look like to choose myself just a little bit today? And you can attach your feeling that resonates with you in terms of self-worth to this. So what would it look like to feel empowered today? What would it look like to choose confidence today? How would the disciplined and free version of me show up today? What would I do right now if I was sure of myself? So just forming a question that resonates with you in terms of your self-worth, and set a reminder in your phone. I'll give us a minute or two right now to do this. And when you're done, you can drop done in the chat. And if you need help with this, also drop that in the chat. Because as we talked about at the beginning, it's one thing to know mentally that we are worthy and we deserve love and self-love, but it's a whole nother thing to get used to checking in and embodying it and meeting those needs for ourselves. Yeah, like being grounded and at ease in my body, nothing to prove, nowhere else to be. I think that's a perfect definition of embodying self-worth. Sally said, creating more space in my head for observation and love. I love that. Yeah, when we're not stuck in our heads overthinking, it does create so much space for creativity and connection and love. Awesome, you guys are doing great. While you're setting those reminders, I want to talk a little bit about boundaries through a nervous system lens. So I know boundaries can feel scary. We talked about at the beginning, a lot of us sometimes struggling to keep the peace, or rather struggling to speak up for ourselves and our needs because we want to keep the peace. So sometimes boundaries can feel like walls we're putting up to shut people out, right? But it's actually the complete opposite. Boundaries are regulation tools. So they're a chance for us to say, I need more time, or this doesn't work for me, or I'll get back to you later. My friends and I have two rules when we're together. One is that we can't say sorry. So if one of us is late, instead of saying, sorry, I'm late, we say, thank you for your patience, or thank you for waiting for me. And another rule is speaking our needs. So if one of us needs some alone time or space, if one of us needs something, we speak it, because we can't expect others to read our minds, and we don't have to feel guilty for having needs and our own capacity. So dysregulated boundaries can look like over-explaining, feeling guilty when we're trying to assert a boundary, freezing or ghosting, or exploding after a long suppression of our boundaries. Have any of us experienced any of these? For me, the one that tends to come up is guilt, the feeling like I don't want to disappoint someone. But every time I've spoken a boundary or a need, I've been met with a lot of acceptance and love and understanding, which creates evidence that it is safe to have boundaries and take care of myself. On the other hand, I've also asserted boundaries many times and been met with anger or disapproval or someone being upset. And I just want to remind you, in either instance, we can't control how the other person responds, and their response, their emotional reaction, is simply a reflection of where they're at. So we can assert the same boundary to different people and be met with totally different responses. If we are met with a negative response or emotion, it is not a reflection of ourselves and our worth. And that's something we really need to remember and continue creating evidence for by having and creating relationships with the people who do see us and accept us and understand us, like this space here today. All of you lovely, beautiful people sharing your self-worth and self-love journey, the areas you struggle, being vulnerable like this, seeing that a lot of us are going through similar things. And I can't talk about self-worth without talking about the subconscious mind. So about 90 to 95% of our mind is created and manifested through the subconscious. So the thoughts, patterns, behaviors, feelings, experiences that we're playing out, most of that is not even happening by our conscious mind. So like I said at the beginning, we can know our worth intellectually and still self-abandon because our body is still remembering what once felt unsafe. This is why we are practicing to be in this hypnosis space today, because dropping in like that really helps us to update those old survival patterns that told us it's more safe to abandon myself than it is to put myself first or take time for myself. So we're building new associations internally with safety and self-prioritization, which is why we took a couple moments to ground together at the beginning. It's taking those simple pauses to land and be in the moment, be in the present, show ourselves that it's safe to breathe and be and take care of myself. So before we shift into the hypnosis, I want to ask us one more question. This is an identity reframe. So again, all of us here self-abandon at times on some level, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it is important to stay connected to the part of us who does not self-abandon. So think about a statement, an identity you're embodying as someone who is in their self-worth. I am someone who, and you can fill in this blank in the chat. Maybe this is someone who stays connected to myself, or who listens to my body, or who takes time to pause and slow down and check in with myself. Or I am someone who can be loved fully. Whatever feels most true for you and most empowering for your sense of self-worth. And I'm just catching up on the chat here. Maya said she added her reminder for herself. I love to see that. Jess said she says sorry way too much. I think a lot of us have been there, especially as women. We feel the need to keep the peace and nurture everyone and not want to upset or disappoint anyone. Ali said it's been hard for me to stop explaining herself every time I set a boundary or say no to someone. Yeah, something I've heard is no is a complete sentence, and I struggle to believe and practice and embody that too, so we're all working on that together. Maya said I tend to blow up or get super emotional when I don't need to, when I ignore my needs for too long. Super, super normal response. Vic said I bounce around all the time between guilt and shame. Again, very normal, so just give yourself some grace. Sheena said, I appreciate this very important topic. At nearly 40, I still feel guilty for any type of healthy assertion. Yeah, Sheena, I hear you. And as we talked about before, there's no comparison or being behind or ahead of someone else. We're all on our own journey, and meeting our nervous system where it's at is what's most important. So you being here and taking this time and self-reflecting and sharing in this way is exactly where you're supposed to be. So give yourself credit. You are planting the seeds for that healthy self-assertion. Sally said her mom has to remind her to stop saying sorry too. Yeah, it's really helpful to have people in our lives to remind us that it's okay to take up space and advocate for ourselves. I went a long time in my life before I found people to show me that it's okay to have needs and put myself first. So these statements, these identity reframes, I see you guys are sharing beautiful ones here. Sally said, I am someone who shows up for myself and my beliefs without shame or embarrassment. Yes. Sheena, I am someone who wants to be authentic and genuine and not feel guilty when my beliefs or values do not align with everyone else's. I love that. Vic can also relate. She said, thought it was just my British trait, the saying sorry. Wolf said, I am someone who keeps going even when it would be easier to stop. Yeah, the journey of life is going to continue whether we're intentional or not. So might as well choose to be intentional and keep going, right? Jesse said, I'm someone who will no longer do things out of obligation. It took me years to not feel that guilt, but I will only do it if it comes from my heart. I love that. Yeah, checking in with our heart and making sure this is actually what we want and what feels good and aligned for us first. Super important. Allie said, I'm someone who avoids extremes and lives with balance while still reaching my goals. I love that, Allie. Vic says, I am someone who feels I'm not tapping into my fullest potential, feels frustrating, and then I go backwards and move even further away from where I want to be, but know I need to change. Thank you for sharing honestly, Vic, where you're at with this. It's okay to feel like you're not tapping into your fullest potential yet. It's okay to be on a self-growth journey and want to improve or be ahead or better in some way than where we are now. And I understand that frustration fully. That makes a lot of sense. What's important to do is ground into where we are now and appreciate this phase of our journey while knowing and trusting that we are the person, we get to be the person every day who decides to show up for ourselves in the same way that that version of us who is living at our fullest potential would show up. So returning to what we do have control over, which is the present moment. Maya said, I'm someone who shows up for myself and my ethics, even when it feels scary, because I know doing hard things often makes them easier and my message is worth being heard. Yes, it absolutely is. That's how we change the world, by speaking up for what we believe in. Shannon says, I am someone who will keep promises to myself. That is a huge and very important one. That's how we build self-trust. So thank you, Shannon. That's beautiful. You guys are awesome. Thank you all for sharing these identity reframes. So next, we're going to journey into a beautiful, relaxing hypnosis to embody the self-worth. So if this is your first time, or maybe you've practiced with me before, I'm going to give you a minute or two to just find a comfortable, relaxing space. This could be seated or lying down. If you have headphones, I highly recommend to immerse yourself in the experience. If you have an eye mask or eye pillow, I also recommend that to help you go into your inner world. But there's no right or wrong. Whatever you have available to you is perfect. You can get comfy and cozy, maybe finding a nice blanket. And hypnosis is similar to meditation in the sense that we're coming out of our busy beta brainwave state, that part of us that is always thinking, that nervous system, that neuroception that's always scanning for threat, wanting to protect us and keep us safe. Meditation allows us to come into a more relaxed alpha state. Our nervous system gets to let go of stress and be more present. And then we take it a step further, dropping into hypnosis, where we have these deeper theta brainwaves, which is where we work with the subconscious mind, that part of us that 90 to 95% of our thoughts, behaviors, and beliefs are controlled by. So this is where we're actively rewriting these stories of self-worth and self-belief and self-abandonment and how they show up for ourselves. So whenever you're ready, just allowing yourself to get comfortable, maybe gently closing your eyes if that feels supportive, and just letting yourself land in this moment, knowing that you're safe, that this is your time just for you. There's nowhere else you need to be, and there's nothing else you need to be doing. And that your worth is not something that needs to be earned. It's simply something that we get to tap back into here today. So let's take a nice deep breath in through the nose and exhale all out. Inhale whatever you need and breathe it all out. And just staying connected with your breath, breathing at a pace that feels good for you, knowing that there's no rush. And not just telling ourselves that it's safe to slow down, but really showing our bodies and our nervous systems in this moment by choosing to breathe and let go of any tension, any worries or overthinking. We're going to do a nice gentle body scan, starting at the top of your head. Just imagine a nice golden light entering the top of your head, melting away any physical tension in your head, releasing any worries, thoughts, or fears. And if at any moment thoughts do come up, just know that that's okay and that's normal. We can choose to breathe anytime we need to go a little bit deeper, letting this warm, relaxing, peaceful light move down into the small muscles in your face, feeling your eyes become heavier, your jaw soften, and imagining this light move down into your shoulders, feeling them release just by turning your attention here. On your next in-breath, imagine breathing in this light into your heart, filling it with your intention for deeper self-worth, and exhaling any resistance you might feel to this. Letting this light relax you as it moves down your arms, down into your stomach, feeling any tension, any clenching here, just letting go as you breathe in deeply, feeling your stomach rise and fall in its own beautiful rhythm. And letting this light of relaxation move down into your hips, feeling them let go and become heavier, allowing this light to move down into your legs, your thighs, your knees, calves, and feet. Feeling your legs letting go of all tension now. And taking a few nice breaths as you invite this light to fill every cell of your body. Each breath representing an invitation to slow down, an invitation to be here with yourself, an invitation to acknowledge that you're showing up for yourself by being here, creating evidence of your worth simply by choosing to tune into it now. Now I want you to imagine a door in front of you, just noticing what this door looks like, the size, the material, seeing this door in your mind's eye. Maybe it's open or closed. If it's closed, you can imagine reaching out and opening this door now. And when you're ready, stepping into this doorway, and with each step you take, feeling more and more relaxed, more safe to slow down. I'm going to count us down from 10. With each number and each step, dropping into your inner world. 10, stepping through this door. 9, slowing all the way down. 8, staying connected to your breath. 7, really being here in your body. 6, letting go of any resistance and tension. 5, letting this path before you unfold. 4, feeling ready and excited for the journey ahead. 3, opening to all possibilities here today. 2, trusting this journey and your timing. And 1, arriving here, wherever here is for you. Imagining somewhere where you feel safe and supported. This might be somewhere outdoors, in nature, a beautiful beach, or a forest, near a river, or on a mountaintop. Maybe this is in your own space, nice and cozy. This could be somewhere familiar or somewhere totally new. Just letting this space really open up in your mind's eye. Noticing the scenery, the colors, the sounds, letting yourself really drop in and relax here, finding a space to sit down and get cozy, setting the intention to just be here with yourself, to be here with the version of you who shows up for yourself, remembering how important it is to drop in and connect with the part of you who knows how worthy you are, the part of you who asserts your boundaries with ease, the part of you who shows up for yourself simply because it feels good. I just want you to imagine this version of yourself placing a candle out in front of you, just noticing what this candle looks like, what color it is, how tall or short it is. This candle represents all the ways you've been abandoning yourself, the ways you make excuses, or that you don't fully speak up for what you believe or what you need. The part of you that longs for more alignment, that wants to be further along, or judges yourself for where you're at right now. And when you're ready, I just want you to imagine taking a match and lighting this candle, letting the flame softly glow in front of you, reminding you of your own inner warmth, your own inner glow, and just watching the wax slowly melt down this candle. And as this candle melts, it represents any and all resistance to your self-empowerment just melting away. And as this candle grows smaller and smaller, you feel your sense of confidence returning as you remember your power of choice to burn down any patterns, any thoughts, any beliefs that are no longer serving you. And just watching this candle slowly go out, the flame dying down, and a gentle smoke floating above, reminding yourself of your own freedom, your own calm that you can tap back into anytime you want or need. That by creating this space today, you now have more capacity for your own self, your own love, your own goals, remembering how good it feels to prioritize yourself, how safe it feels to show up without any resistance or tension as you grow and embody the version of you who feels safe to be exactly who you are. Just taking a few moments to be in your own energy, reminded of your own strength, your own beauty, your own worth. And if it feels supportive, maybe placing a hand on your heart or your stomach, and just inviting this sense of self-worth in through your hand, sending this loving, supportive energy into your body, into every cell, and just really thanking yourself for taking the time to slow down, reminding yourself that it's safe to slow down, that you can still achieve all your goals. You can embody the health you desire. You can be the fit and strong version of you and still take this time to check in with your body and take care of you on an energetic and emotional level. Reminding yourself that by taking this time to slow down, we actually create more space for that achievement, for feeling better, for feeling more energized and capable, for trusting that we can have this balance without extremes. And just really breathing this in as a loving reminder to yourself of your own inherent worth. And now just taking a moment to send some gratitude to yourself for being here, looking around this beautiful scene one more time, taking anything you need with you, any reminders or emotions, any thoughts or affirmations of your worth that you can bring with you into the rest of your day. I'm going to count us up from 1 to 5, with each number slowly awaking and returning to your space. 1, thanking yourself for this experience. 2, taking your time to let this all integrate. 3, feeling deeply connected to your worth. 4, returning to your own space. And 5, feeling more awake, more aware, slowly and gently opening your eyes in your own timing. Maybe shaking out if that feels good. And when you're ready, I'm going to drop a question in the chat. This is the same question we started with. On a scale of 1 to 10, how safe does it feel for you to prioritize yourself right now? 1 being it feels difficult or impossible. 10 being it's very easy. It's a given for me to prioritize myself. And just notice if there's any shift from where you started today, even if it's only 1 number. Just giving yourself credit and acknowledgement for taking this space, trusting that you're moving in your own timing. Thank you guys for being here, for practicing with me, for taking the time to reconnect to your own self-worth. That self-worth is built in these micro choices to pause and check in and choose ourselves more than we're used to doing. So now, as we wrap up, we do have some gifts, as I mentioned. We're going to be dropping a link in the chat for a chance to win a free month of coaching with the Vegan Squad team. So if you fill out this application, a coach from our team will call you. This is a chance to get clarity on your goals. So whether that's health and fitness related, self-care, a mixture of all of it, we're going to identify what exactly has been keeping you stuck and support you in choosing the next best steps for you and create evidence that we can make these changes in a way that feels good. So thank you, Allie. Drop the form in the chat. Be sure to click on this link. Start filling it out. We are ending here in 1 minute before our next talk with Coach Samara. So make sure you click on that link and fill it out for your chance for a free month of one-on-one coaching. Thank you guys for being here, for taking the time for you, for creating evidence that we don't have to abandon ourselves to get our needs met and feel good. I appreciate you being here, and I'll talk with you guys soon.